monsters ever die.
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Look like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Also, bear with me today. This is my first time having wine in several months.
Same here. That's the.
My camera lens coffee cup.
That's cool. Is it an actual camera lens?
It's pressed. It looks whoever designed it did whoever designed it did a really good job.
That's really good.
Gonna have Temu for like $4.
I strangely like Temu.
So do I. I order shit all the time.
Same.
So check this shit out. Just learned this
What you
today. And this blew
Okay.
my mind, right? So I watch this guy on Twitch. He used to be a developer for Blizzard.
Oh, the folks that make that big MMO
Yes.
RPG. Gotcha.
Yes. World of Warcraft.
The one you all know we're talking about. Yeah, Warcraft.
We'll say it. So this guy,
We'll say it.
I think his Twitch handle is Pirate Software.
Okay.
I think his online handle is Thor. I could be wrong. But I watched this guy's channel. He's great. He's a really cool, down to earth guy. Dude is computer whiz, and he gives like practical advice too. Like somebody will say, "Hey, I'm thinking about changing careers. What do you have in advice for?" And he'll be like, "All right, here's the thing." His favorite thing is he's like, "All right, here's the thing," and he'll stop. And what he'll do is he'll pull up MS Paint, and he'll draw out diagrams in MS Paint, and that's just his way to translate his ideas to people. And it's really it's kitschy, but it's really cool. I really dig it. I get it. Everybody's got their medium that they talk with, right?
Right. Well, it's kind of how the dude from Khan Academy did his thing when he started. He had a stylus and a pad for paint, but he'd just write on it because he was used to using a blackboard. So he'd just write on the thing and it would show up next to his little face icon next to the lesson.
But he uses just a mouse. He doesn't have a stylus. He just uses a mouse.
Oh,
he is exceptionally proficient with using just a mouse. But he's always like doing little things, and so like people like to bring like these strange anomalies to him inside Microsoft. Inside Microsoft Windows. Like one of my favorite ones was somebody who said if you look on the calculator in Microsoft, one of the rows of buttons is off by a single pixel. And he's like, "No, not real. And he took a screenshot and zoomed in, and he's sitting there looking at it. He goes, "I hate this. I hate you." And dude's got a really deep voice, so he's like,
Because now you can never unsee it.
"I hate this. I hate this." So here's the thing. But let me show you this trick that he showed me. I did not know this, and it blew my fucking mind. Because he uses paint a lot.
Okay.
So he said, grab your pencil and you click in there once, and you hold the space bar and you move the arrows, and it's like an Etch-a-Sketch.
Oh, that is so cool. My God, he knows way too much about Microsoft.
I was like, what? No fucking way.
That is ridiculous. So it always
As long
always stays with it. As long as you're holding the space bar.
as you're holding the space bar. And then like, you can go at angles, like two arrow keys at the same time.
What? That is... Why?
I've been playing with Microsoft Paint since I was 5 years old.
Yeah, I never knew that.
I never knew this.
I haven't looked up key tricks for Microsoft Paint though either, to be fair.
Yeah.
But what?
Yeah. And then of course he knew this, so he wrote a custom program for his Microsoft Paint that he could select all, and then he could shake it and it would go away after it.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
So there you
That's
go.
funny.
This is your tidbit for the
That's
week.
funny. Oh my God, that's cool. I like that. I like that a lot. All of a sudden, I feel like paint is cool.
Yeah, it's
I liked it as a kid, but I haven't used it in, jeez, I don't know how long.
something else. Is I knew a girl after high school that played solitaire with only the keyboard.
Because she knew all the
She
key
knew
commands?
all of the key commands, and she would just sit there.
Wow.
I remember, like, we were drinking one night, and we're just hanging out, vibing, listening to music. She was leaned back, smoking a cigarette, played solitaire, one hand. I'm just saying, didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. I thought I was a genius when I looked up special key command, like special letter commands one time for like Cyrillic and Latin and all kinds of other stuff. I thought that was just, a brainwave. Though most of it, like, it's like a 3-key command.
Oh yeah,
for a
it's
single
like
letter. I'm like,
it's like Control Alt 00192, and then a symbol
Yeah.
pops up. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Well,
It's-
because one of the ladies at work was doing it for accents for typing in Spanish.
yeah.
Because we have a lot of Spanish clients, and she had them on a cheat sheet. But I was like, wait, what is that? What is that for? She's like, oh, it's key commands so I can put in their names right,
Oh,
and
okay.
and put in like their birthplace right.
Yeah.
She's like, it just, otherwise it isn't, because some Spanish words, like, great example, prestamos or prestamos, depending on where the accent is,
Oh.
either means borrowing or lending.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So if you just type it out with nothing, it means both and neither.
Weird.
So
Really
yeah,
weird.
so the
Yeah.
accents matter a lot.
Oh shit! What was I gonna say? You see the thing where people get trolled into Alt F4ing. So
What does that
so
do?
so I know you're a Mac user.
Yeah.
So if I hit Alt F4, it
Mhm.
closes all the open applications. So somebody will be streaming, and it's usually like a new streamer, and they'd be like, Chat, what's the command to bring up the build menu? And somebody would be like Alt F4, and he'll be like, okay. The click, click, stream goes offline. Or if it's not, I've never done it, so I don't know. But it's either close all the applications or close the current application, one or the other.
Okay.
I'm sure somebody's
That's
listening that knows what we're talking about and just shaking their head. I am sorry. I don't Alt F4. I don't. Yeah. It's almost as bad as the Xbox close name on Call of Duty.
What's that?
Or Xbox turn off, I think it is. Somebody will make their gamer tag Xbox turn off, and they'll be in voice chat, or they'll intentionally stand in the way of spawn so you can't get by them, and people start yelling at them in voice chat, and they'll be like, Xbox turn off, get out of the way, and then their Xbox turns off because it has a voice command.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. That's good.
So many
like that.
videos. I love trolls. Trolling is fun. Anyway, welcome in, everybody. Another episode
Hello.
of Beyond the Shadows. We are on episode 9. I will say that on Spotify we have almost reached 100 plays between 8 episodes. We have reached, I think we're at 96 plays right now, which is good. Really good for a nobody couple of guys, I think.
Before we get too far ahead, I'm Aeon.
Oh, I'm Victus. Sorry.
Now we're here.
I'm excited. We usually talk analytics
Now we're
before we record.
Now we're here. No, that's really good. I mean, considering, no, I mean, a little marketing, but nothing paid. Just
Our
organic.
aerial school UFO incident is our second best episode right now.
Popular. All right.
It's shot up there. It went from like nobody listened for the first few days to
Yeah.
I think our best episode has like 29 plays, and this one's at 19 plays right now. So
Great.
it's doing
It's
great. Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it. We really do.
Great.
So this week we are doing cryptids. We talked last week. We were going to talk. We said we were going to do the squonk.
Let's go.
The squonk. I did some research. There's not a lot about it. It's more of a folk tale.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a thing somebody actually ran across. It sounds like a thing that's, kind of like the snipe hunting.
Yeah. So, but there is like the town that it's from, there's like heavy lore and it's heavily integrated. Like you go to a town where somebody saw Bigfoot 50 years ago, everybody's like,
Right.
the Bigfoot capital. Well, the place where Squonk is from, they do like Squonk Fest every year. Yeah, they do like Squonk costume contests and stuff. It's really funny. Half of the restaurants in town are named after the Squonk. Yeah, I unfortunately watched the video from last year's Squonk Fest. Yeah, sorry.
Is it a lot of people?
It's a lot. It's a big festival because there's nothing else in that area.
Everybody comes out for Squonk Fest.
Yes, everyone comes out for Squonk Fest. So this is in Pennsylvania. So
makes me imagine those old crappy radio ads. For stuff going on. All right, everybody come on down to Squonk Fest.
Come on down to
Fest 2019.
Oh yeah, like the radio stations used to do.
Yeah.
This is KKLX. We're down here at Squonk Fest 2024. We're out here live until 11 p.m. today. Come out see if you can win some swag.
Yeah,
that's right. That's it. Brought to you by Squonk Cafe, Squonk RS, Squonk Grocery, and Squonk Public Grocery.
it's sponsored by Squonk Public Schools.
Yeah, exactly.
That's precisely what this town is like. I'm not knocking. If anybody listening is from that city, hey, y'all got your thing. Kudos. I live in Virginia. We love Mothman here. So we're gonna do a little short thing about Squonk, and then I've got something that I did not tell you about.
Yes, I'm excited.
I'm pretty sure you've never heard of this because I've only come across it once.
Okay.
But I did pull I dug through a little bit of Reddit and I got a first-hand account of the second cryptid. We'll touch more on that later, but let's get into the Squonk.
Okay.
So,
give me the Squonk.
Let's get into the Squonk. Squonk is fun. So, the Squonk, by definition, is a folkloric creature and fearsome critter. That's what a lot of people describe it as, a fearsome critter. Reputed to live, yes, it's fearsome. Wait till you hear what it looks like. A fearsome critter reputed to live in the hemlock forest of northern Pennsylvania. Legends of Squonk originated in the late 19th century at the height of Pennsylvania's importance in the timber and hunting industry. So, just like you could imagine, anywhere else that up-and-coming industries, people are probably bored to death and they just like, let's make some shit up. I saw something I couldn't explain. So, the Squonk was born. The earliest written account of Squonks. I didn't know there was a plural word for it. I thought it was the Squonk. Apparently, it is Squonks.
Apparently, it's population.
Yes, it is not Squonk-eye.
Squonk-eye.
The first written account of Squonks comes from a book by William T. Cox called "Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods," with a few desert and mountain beasts, from 1910. Yeah. Gotta love those old book titles. So,
all right.
Apparently by 1910, it had been popular enough that it had been put into a book.
Okay.
I could see the allure, right? So you're researching, sitting at a local tavern. Oh yeah, I'm writing a book on fearsome creatures in the mountains and some in deserts. What have you got living around here? And everybody's like, we got mountain lions, we got bears. And there's a man sitting in the corner, cloaked in shadows, and all you see is his cherry and a cigarette.
I know a beast. A fearsome beast. A fearsome critter.
The Squonk! Lightning strikes behind him.
Yeah, like the rainy boat captain.
Yeah.
It's like got the peg leg. He's walked in. A couple of drunk college guys talking. He's like, "Have you seen the Squonk?"
I'll tell ye a tale.
Lightning strikes, half of his face is missing.
Yeah.
This fearsome creature removed this half of my face. It illuminates from his shadow. 'Twas the Squonk, it was. Yeah. So
Had him in me net, I did.
shot him 1,000 times uphill both ways. Wait, I'm getting my stories mixed up.
No.
Meanwhile, the guy writing the book is over there furiously taking notes. Oh, 1,000 miles both ways.
This is super interesting.
Uphill both ways or just 1,000 miles both ways? So, the legend holds that the creature's skin is ill-fitting, covered with warts, and that because it's ashamed of its appearance, it hides from plain sight and spends most of its time weeping. Hunters who have tried catching the squonks have found out that the creature is capable of dissolving completely into a pool of tears and bubbles when cornered.
Come on. All right.
A man named J.P. Wetling is supposed to have coaxed the creature into a bag, which when he carried it home suddenly lightened. Upon further inspection, he found that all that remained in the bag was liquid remains of the sad animal.
Ugh. Gross.
So from some of the stories I've heard, it's like people have tracked it into the swamps or into the woods, and their way of tracking it down was following its trail of tears.
That's so crazy.
So before we get too far, let me see how much more do I got left to read. Yeah, not much left to read on this. Let me pull up. We got a couple pictures.
Artist renderings.
Artist renderings. These are not photographs. Don't get excited.
Oh my god.
This is the squonk, my friend.
Oh, it's like a what is that super wrinkly dog?
Is that a Shih Tzu? No.
No,
I know what you're talking about.
Pekingese? No. Anyway, it looks like one of those with no hair and like a hamster.
Yeah, its legs definitely look like dog legs. Notice its pile of bubbly tears beneath him.
Yeah. That's such a weird detail too, bubbly tears.
And not to mention his tail looks like a cut off trunk. It's just a hole with a poop tube.
I was gonna say, is it a tail or is it just he's got a?
It might just be his asshole hanging out.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's just got a.
I'd be crying too if my asshole were hanging out.
What do they call it? A
prolapse.
Prolapse. Yeah, he's got a prolapse. No wonder he's sad.
Just walking around with his prolapse hanging out, flopping in the wind.
Jeez. Gross. I mean, he kind of looks like one giant prolapse.
Yeah,
but,
he does. All right, so in 2015, in the 2015 version of Fearsome Creatures by Hal Johnson, the squonk is physically and actually a pig. It's covered in warts and has cauliflower ears and covered in waxen hair. Its tusks are yellow and crooked, and its rheumy eyes weep constant tears. It has 4 legs, 3.5 Okay, so I reread this a bunch of times. I still don't understand. It has 4 legs, 3.5 if the right hind leg is transparent.
Because sometimes its right hind leg is transparent. Okay. All right.
Yeah, let's just omit some information, make people ask questions.
Yeah. Just throw that in there with no
no context,
no backstory or context. Just
yeah.
It sounds like he's just assuming you've done as much squonk research as him, and he's just providing extra detail to your already wealth of knowledge.
Of the creature. Like he started talking about it or something, and somebody's like, "Well, what about its transparent hind right leg?" What?
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'll just put that in the book." Thanks, buddy. Great detail. Everyone will know about that, right? Yay! And it's the same guy sitting in the back of the tavern. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, of course I knew about the transparent right hind leg.
Right. That's what everybody? Where's yours? It's transparent, obviously. Let's see. I think we got one more picture. Yeah, here's another artist rendition of the squonk.
Oh,
yeah.
That is definitely worse.
Yeah.
That's definitely worse.
I feel like if this were colorized, there would be a lot of red swollen areas. Ugh. That's a squonk.
He's just one big skin tag.
Ugh. Skin tags covered in skin tags. Poor guy. Now you know why he weeps constantly.
Now you know why he's so upset. Apparently has a lot of self-awareness.
Apparently.
Hence the weeping.
I feel like his voice would be Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Thanks for noticing me. Disappears into a wisp of tears and bubbles. I thought you noticed me. I'm going on now. A breeze blows. Tears.
I lost my tail.
He's got a little tail. He's got an ugly tail there. So.
Oh no, because Eeyore's always had to have his.
Oh
pin
yeah,
back
yeah,
on.
yeah.
He's always carrying it.
Yeah, because back in the day, stuffed animals were filled with sawdust, like Eeyore was, and it was hard to reattach things that were had fallen off.
Well, it just kind of always made me wonder what kind of rough trade Eeyore was into, that his tail specifically was always the thing coming off.
Wasn't it like Roo was always playing with his tail?
Maybe. It's been a very long time.
Been a very long time.
It's been a very long time.
In this mass collection in the shelf behind me, I actually have like a either 28 or 38 Disney record of Winnie the Pooh songs. I got it.
That's cool.
I get it for
with the characters doing the voices.
Yeah, the original voice actors and
cool.
everything. I think it's back there.
That's cool.
There's so much stuff on that shelf, I can't even tell you. But I got it for a dime because it was broken.
Oh.
I was like, well, it's fine. I'm just going to display it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be hanging around, sitting around the campfire listening to jovial songs from the stories of Winnie the Pooh and the 100-Acre Wood.
Sherwood, 100-Acre Wood. That's right.
I will say I do quote the Little Black Rain Cloud song all the time.
What is the thing that Pooh was always on the lookout for?
Honey?
No.
Oh, heffalumps and woozles?
Heffalumps and woozles.
Yeah.
My favorite animated Winnie the Pooh was the one Winnie the Pooh and the Great Thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Or the Great Flood.
Yeah.
Anyway, where he ends up having like a trippy dream state inside his waterlogged tree, and there's the whole heffalumps and oozles because Tigger got it in his head.
Oh yeah. So funny correlation. Only reason I say this is because Dumbo was my favorite movie growing up. There was also a strong reference on elephants and weasels being the bad guys in Dumbo.
Yep.
Which is really strange.
When Dumbo gets drunk.
Yeah.
The dream trip about him.
Yeah, that was so weird. The song was called Elephants on Parade. That's my favorite Dumbo song. I love that song. I actually listen to it kind of regularly. A little sad for somebody who's almost 40. But
they all look like L-wire figures.
Yeah. They're weird, man. That whole scene is fucking weird. It used to make me uncomfortable as a kid.
It's got uncomfortable elements to it. I mean, so does Heffalumps and Oozles. It's supposed to be, tension.
Absolutely wild what they could get away with back then.
I mean, honestly, I even thinking now about the scene where Dumbo finds his mother in the cage.
Oh, jeez, horribly sad.
Oh my god! And
she rocks him. The reaching through the bars. Yeah, she reaches down and rocks him sleep.
She reaches down and rocks. Oh my god!
Everybody talks about Bambi being the sad movie.
No, I mean, yeah, it's sad, but no, that scene in Dumbo is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's still my favorite Disney movie.
All because she tried to protect him.
Yep.
They lock her up for being dangerous.
Yeah. It's, in the words of Metallica, it's sad but true.
I mean, way to go, Walt.
Yeah. Bad enough you were racist.
Starts out all, it's bad enough that you're into, genocide and stuff. But, you had to also make little kids cry in every movie.
Yeah, that was Oh, is that why I have so many problems as an adult?
Probably. We're the generation that watched Disney cartoons that start out happy, destroy your soul, and then end happy like the soul-destroying part never happened.
Yeah.
And never gets addressed.
I need this drink. I actually have a Black Diamond Dumbo.
What's that?
That's the collector's one, the expensive ones. The VHS tapes there was the collector's edition. Well, it wasn't collector's edition, it was the first run of the VHS tapes.
Okay.
They're called the Black Diamonds now. They're very expensive. Actually just saw a set of them yesterday at a junk shop. 6 of the Black Diamonds for $350.
Dang.
Yeah, and that's.
I wish I had known that. I had most every first, like any that came out in my lifetime as a kid. We bought the first VHS tapes as soon as they came out. The first run.
Yeah.
I wish I had known that. I had probably, 15, 20 of them.
Yeah, I got so the Dumbo I have is my Dumbo from a kid, and I have what else do I have? I have all my Dr. Seuss books from when I was a kid.
I had the original Little Mermaid with the tower that's a penis.
Yeah.
On the front cover. I had that.
Yeah, so my wife and I, we do a lot of like yard sales, junk shops. There's a lot of them here. It's a tourist area where I live, so tourists like spending money on little knickknacks and things, and lots of junk shops. You would like the one I went to yesterday. This guy has an outstanding collection of antique cars.
Oh.
Absolutely outstanding. Everything from a Model T to like a 1930s Mercedes-Benz to...
Dang,
yeah.
I like that.
Got a bunch of old Impalas, GTOs. I think he was in back working on a pristine Volkswagen thing.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Beautiful.
You never see those anymore.
And these are all stored indoors, too. He never takes them outside.
Really?
Yeah, this junk
He just collects them?
Yeah, this junk shop is probably like 3/4 the size of a Walmart. And
Oh my god.
once a month he rotates the cars inside the building. That's how big the building is. Yeah. Cool little...
That's cool. So really he has the junk shop to afford the place to store all of his cars.
That's what it
inside,
is.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
That sounds like my plan.
But
Like, well, I gotta have a place for these, but I can't really just afford just to buy a warehouse.
Yeah. I think his moneymaker though, he repairs old neon signs.
Okay.
Because in the back where the VW was at, he had his neon station. So he's got like 150 neon signs from like the 60s and 70s. And he's working on, like, you can see his workstation. He ropes it off, like, don't go up here. You see all his tools and shit laying out, his torches and stuff.
That's cool.
But the guy is really quiet. He doesn't talk to anybody. His wife runs the shop, and then once they close, he goes to work.
Huh.
But, but yeah, like when I say he's got a collection of cars, he's also got like a row of like 100 fully restored, beautiful antique gas pumps too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
of course.
he's that guy. Bunch of
Okay.
old gas station signs and stuff.
Okay.
Cool place. You would like it. You would really like it.
Sounds cool. Yeah, I could spend a whole day in that.
We spent about an hour and a half, and we still didn't see everything. We never do. Anyway, let's read the last bit of this of the Squonk. So its fearsome aspect is its contagious misery. It lives in the Pinocchio Mountains of Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's very very fancy wording for just a sad fucking animal.
Contagious misery. That's very inventive. I like that. The transparent rear right leg and contagious misery.
Yeah. So here's a couple sentences that are just going to confuse you.
Okay.
It lives in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. Jean-Paul Wentling, which is the author of that book, Hal Johnson's arch nemesis, tried to catch one, but the squonk, he dissolved into tears and died. The squonk's method of love and reproduction is binary fission.
Binary fission. Oh, so it splits like an amoeba?
I guess.
Okay. I mean, That's a big animal to just divide.
Let me
Yeah,
let me look that up. I'm gonna look that up now.
Yeah, it's like the way an amoeba populates or a cell.
What is binary fission?
It's where you only have one rod of plutonium.
Right? In biology, the division of a single entity into two or more parts to regenerate those parts. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Or like that weird worm that you can cut into pieces and
yeah.
have an identical worm.
So it cuts itself in half. That's how it reproduces. So asexual reproduction.
Okay.
Cool.
That's a big animal for asexual reproduction. Those things usually don't have bones.
Yeah. Anything other than a single
Normal.
cell structure, right?
Yeah, normally they don't have bones. but
Probably
all right.
requires a massive amount of energy.
I would think so. All right.
But the cherry on top,
Oh, there's a cherry.
there's
There's more.
there's a cherry. So three random points. It has a scientific name. Let me.
What? No.
Yes. Therestis lacrimosus.
Lacrimosus.
I'm sure there's some. Let me just Google that. Let me see what happens when I just Google that. There's no telling what the hell's going to pop up. Oh, wow. It came up directly as a squonk. So Therestis was a soldier in the Greek army during the Trojan War. He fought with Achilles.
Okay.
There are multiple matches for the word lacrimosus, including the scientific name of two birds and marine species.
All right.
Fan-tailed warbler, a black-striped woodpecker, and a marine species classified as Cycreopteryx lacrimosus. It doesn't even say what it is. It just says a marine species.
Okay.
I wonder why the bird half of it. That's weird. Oh, there's also an insect with that. Tecturosus? Tecturosus lacrimosus it's like a giant beetle in North America. Oh, it's also in the same family as spiders and scorpions.
Okay. No, never heard of it.
Yeah, that's a weird one. But it's got a scientific name. But I Googled it. First thing that came up was the squonk. So
the squonk.
So here's your last two tidbits of the squonk. The squonk is briefly mentioned in the song Any Major Dude Will Tell You by the band Stan Dealey. Or Steely Dan, excuse me.
Dan Dealey.
Stan Dealey, sorry. I am a little bit of dyslexic sometimes.
Yep.
And here's my favorite
Steely Dan
tidbit.
mentions the squonk.
Yeah, I haven't listened to the song. I would play it here, but
either.
we would get a copyright strike for sure. So
Yeah.
So here's my last tidbit about the squonk, and it's my favorite. The progressive rock band Genesis also paid tribute to the squonk in a song all about the creature's sad life, simply titled Squonk. Genesis.
What?
Phil Collins.
What? So two major rock bands
Yeah.
referenced a crypto creature.
So I'm actually gonna look up the Genesis song because I want to see what it's all about.
It's about a super sad creature or thing, I guess.
Squonk. Oh my gosh, there's so many references to the word squonk. Wow. Holy shit. Okay, let's try Squonk Genesis. Oh, there it is, yeah. Oh no, don't play the song. It's off their album A Trick of the Tail. The yellow one. I know this album.
Okay.
I'll have to listen to it later. Maybe when we drop this video or this week's episode on YouTube, I'll strap a link including stuff to the Genesis and the Steely Dan song, just to flesh out the story. You know, I feel like I gotta hear the Genesis song. I haven't listened to it yet, but I will. So
It's so awesome.
yeah, it really is.
All right.
It really is. So I told you we have something special. Second,
Yeah, let's hear the second one.
this is far more interesting.
Okay.
so-
I mean, the Squonk was more interesting than I expected, considering you said there wasn't much on it. It was very funny.
Let me scroll down to the bottom of this. I need to look at something right quick. So Googling. I need to figure out exactly what this stands for. So there is, what does SCP stand for? So SCP, so there's some would say it's fictional, some say it's not.
Okay.
It's called the SCP Foundation.
Okay.
And the SCP Foundation, let me give you a wiki definition of it, because you know wiki's just going to do the best. To put it in a nutshell within a couple sentences, right?
Yeah.
So, SCP Foundation. Oh, geez, it's warning, the Foundation database is classified. Yeah, not wiki. Where'd the wiki go? There we go. The SCP Foundation is a fictional organization featuring in stories created by the SCP Wiki. Within the project's shared fictional universe, the SCP Foundation is a secret organization responsible for capturing, containing, and studying various paranormal, supernatural, and other mysterious phenomena, known as anomalies or SCPs, while keeping their existence hidden from the rest of society. This is a really fun rabbit hole to go down. So before I met my wife, I would stay up very late, rabbit holing dumb shit, because I had nothing else to do with my time. And I stumbled upon SCPs because I was down a rabbit hole about the back rooms.
Okay.
So we all know the back rooms.
No. Nope. Nope. I see the surprise in your face, but no. Nope. we don't all
Okay,
know,
well,
apparently. I don't.
well, I get it.
Like I know the video game.
Well, the video game is from the same wiki as SCP.
Okay.
Supposedly the back rooms are real.
Okay.
So you've seen the video game, right?
Yep.
Let me open Chrome. Let's just look up some generic pictures of the back rooms. I'm chubbing with my left hand. Not easy to do. Okay, generic images of the back rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So every video I've seen, people just kind of fall into another dimension and they land here.
Okay.
And these rooms go on forever.
Mm-hmm.
Forever. Walking for hours. And there's like levels to it. There's areas to it that people can, like, so the people that are hardcore into this can tell you everything you need to know about the back rooms. Huge rabbit hole. Go down it if you want. We could do a whole episode on this very, very, very easily.
Okay. We should.
Oh,
because
it's
never heard of it.
I talked for like an hour with my wife earlier today about it because she didn't know about it, because I was talking about what we're about to talk about, and I was like, it ties into the back rooms.
And she said the same thing.
Yes.
What is that?
Yeah. She said exactly the same. What are the back rooms?
I like how you're like, we all know about the back rooms, but the two people you talked to about it today have no idea what it is.
Sorry. I assumed that everybody was like me and just looks at shit. So, back rooms. Some of the SCPs, the original SCPs, come from the back rooms.
Okay.
Usually, so some videos that you can find, people are just walking and they eventually come out. And some videos you'll see, like this one, there's a weird creature in it that chases you around and then eventually you pop back out.
Okay.
But they're always like these weird 80s vibe kind of office buildings, but there's nothing in them. And they go on forever. And you just walk and walk, different rooms. Wild shit. So some of these SCPs are from the back rooms.
Okay.
If I know my SCP lore, which I'm sure somebody's shaking their head right now, the first few SCPs came from the back rooms. So, back rooms, SCPs, the Foundation, SCP Foundation. I still don't know what the hell SCP stands for. I forget. But this thing we're going to talk about is an SCP. So it has its own classification number and everything. It is classified as SCP-6448, also known as Not Deer.
Not deer?
Yes.
Like a deer, but it's not a deer?
Correct.
Okay, this I feel like I've heard about, sorta, in a sideways thing.
So there's no real good pictures of it.
I think I've seen sketches.
Yeah, there's weird shit floating around.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen sketches of the not deer.
So
And the face is like a skull?
sometimes yes, sometimes no. So let's dive into it. Let's see what I got. Finish my drink before we get started. For starters, I'm going to say horrible fucking name. Not deer. Could you come up with anything else? Deer monster, deer creature, deer of doom.
Proto-deer.
Yeah. So the not deer is a creature.
Deer adjacent.
Deer adjacent. Better than not deer. Right? So not deer is a creature said to inhabit the Appalachian Mountains, with most sightings being in the state of Tennessee. The animal is characterized as looking like a normal deer at first glance, but upon closer inspection it becomes apparent that something is off with the anatomy and the behavior. So I've read some reports where people are out in the woods and they see a deer, but something wasn't quite right about the way the legs worked. So like this sketch, the front legs are backward.
Oh. Okay.
So like they would notice that, like, wait a second, that leg's not supposed to bend that way, and then like the deer would turn and it would be like missing a jaw, or the horns would be growing on the bottom side of its head, or it would have sharp teeth, which is absolutely horrifying if you've ever been close to a deer.
Yeah.
The not deer is described as looking like a deer from a distance, but once one looks at it longer or gets closer, something about it is off. Their movements are described as being like a newborn deer, but appearing as an adult. Some accounts suggest the creature is double jointed or has additional joints in its limbs. The limbs are described as longer than the nose of a deer, and the chest is heavy, very barrel-like. The way it moves is said to have been aggressive compared to that of a deer. The most defining feature is, however, is that not deers do not have eyes on the sides of the head, but rather in the front, like a predator.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me. I am. Oh, you know what? I should wash that down with some wine. Huh.
There you go.
Well. While we're on the subject of wine.
Are you dispensing from a carton currently? I can tell by the action you're like.
Oh yeah, it wasn't this motion because I can't afford glass bottles.
No, that's funny.
Off subject for just 2 seconds. So you know I've been making my own mead.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I try with like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries.
Yeah.
So it's usually like fruit, water, honey, yeast makes alcohol.
Right.
I tried something just to try it to see if it would work.
Oh, the lemonade thing?
I sampled it today.
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to be making any other mead ever again.
That good?
It is so fucking good.
Wow. I would not have expected that.
So I smelled it, and it smelled the same as all the other meads. which I'm assuming all I'm smelling is, the honey and the fermentation.
Right.
But I tasted it, and immediately my wife was sitting at the table in the kitchen. I racked it, so that means transferring from one bottle to another. I racked it
to get get the sediment.
Yeah, because there's shit that settles to the bottom. You want to get rid of that.
All the dead yeast will give you a headache.
Yeah. So I racked it, and I noticed the fermentation had stopped a few days ago. Oh, virus and threat protection. Awesome. Didn't find anything. Good job, computer. So I racked it, and I'm looking at it. I was like, this is so clear. It smells good. So I pulled like this much of a mason jar just to sample it. And I smelled it, and I was like, here, smell this. My wife smelled it. She's like, oh, it smells all right. I was like, it kind of smells like the rest of them. So I was expecting them to they all have kind of tasted the same, despite what fruit I put in it. Took a sip. I was like, no fucking way. Drank the rest of it. I'm like, no fucking way. She's like, what? I was like, this is amazing. Poured a whole glass. Took a big swig, did the swishy thing just to get the good taste. Tastes like peach jam.
What?
Right?
Yeah, not what I was expecting. No.
So I was like, holy
Not
shit.
what
I was freaking out because I was like, this is just lemons and honey and water. I was freaking out. I told her, I was like, this just tastes like peach jam. She's like, we have peach jam in the fridge. I was like, perfect. We're going to compare right now. Got a little taste of peach jam. Exactly the same.
What? That sounds all right.
It is so good. So fucking good.
It's an odd thing for it to make it taste like. What kind of... You just use lemon, like lemonade that is just lemon and water, basically.
Yeah, I use there's a certain brand. I don't want to say because I don't want people going out and just making alcohol out of anything. But there's a certain brand that very organic. All it is the fruit and water. And that's what I used just to try it. It was like $10. I was like, I'll give it a fucking shot. Why not? This is the only thing I'm going to be making from here on out. It is so good. It is so good. Anyway, sorry. Went on a tangent. So, where were we at? Let's see. The distinction is usually the first thing noticed as off. That's a weird sentence. A few accounts involve multiple eyes, though most do not. Other uncommon outliers of the typical account involves describing the head as bovine.
Okay.
Was that like cow? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess a larger head. There was one picture of a real deer that kind of made me go, huh, that's kind of like not deer. There we go.
Oh yeah, with its eyes forward, and although its mouth is all funny.
Yeah, it's like off at it. Fucking ads.
But its eyes are straight forward,
wide open. And notice.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't think deer had pupils like goats.
They don't usually. I thought they just had regular pupils, like a cow or a horse.
Like that deer's head is all fucked up. So I could see why they're calling this a not deer.
Though that isn't particularly scary.
No, but
some of the other like trail cam shit that you had up looked creepy.
Oh yeah, look at this guy. Oh, that's an artist rendering. Never mind.
There was some other one that I saw before you, like if you go back in your... Oh, there you go.
This one
down
here?
one.
Oh, this?
No, down one. Yeah.
Mature content. Are we over 18?
Sign me up for that.
Oh, geez. Hold on. Let me make this go away for just a second in the recording. I don't want to accidentally show something that I'm gonna have to blur later.
Cryptid hunt.
Okay, we can show this.
Trail cam footage. Collection. And that looks like a normal deer.
Yeah, it's got sharp teeth.
It's got weird horns, yeah, and sharp teeth. I wonder if those are fakes or not?
These look like AI.
Yeah, that's got some sort of weird tongue thingy going on. Yes, yes.
There we
So,
go. So that
Yeah.
I would classify as a not deer. Probably AI, but that's okay. This is good because this is a good representation of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and they all seem to have the two-prong horn thing.
Yeah. Ooh, great detail. It looks like it's wet.
Yeah, or oily.
Yeah, more oily than wet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a good one. Let's leave that one up for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So some of the behaviors are described as said not to be afraid of humans. Those who encounter them say they have an uneasy feeling. There is intelligence and emotion about them that furthers the feeling that something is off. Not deer will generally approach humans, and it's because of this that the odd movements are noted. Despite encounters feeling off, the creature has also been reported to attack if provoked, as when an encounter tries to scare them off. Some accounts involve being chased up a tree. The not deer may walk on its hind legs for a bit, as some animals may do, in order to intimidate or in attempts to reach individuals who are chased up a tree.
Jeez, that thing's even got like a weird reptilian flap to its mouth.
Yeah.
Like a snake.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's AI, that's a good one.
Yeah.
The not deer accounts are primarily found on Reddit, but after getting attention, recent years to TikTok and other sites. Usually sightings are on roads, such as a case of driving alone on a motorcycle to the Appalachian Road and seeing in the road what looks like a deer, but becomes very obvious very quickly that the deer is not what it seems once the accountee gets closer. They love using the word accountee, don't they?
Accountee.
Not deer encounters are suggested by skeptics to be encounters with deer who have birth defects causing unusual walking patterns and a head shape, which makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
The feelings reported by those who claim to have encountered not deers are thought to be the result of isolation, sleep deprivation, and other factors. An alternative to the deformed deer explanation is that the accountee stumbled upon a deer suffering from early stages of CWE, which is chronic wasting disease.
Okay.
AKA the zombie deer syndrome, which is wild if you haven't seen pictures of that. I'm not going to pull it up because they are very graphic. These deer will walk around with holes on the sides of their heads. Bone exposed.
What happens?
It's a wasting disease. They just start to die from the inside out, but they don't die.
What? No, I've never heard of it.
So like whole sides of their face will be bone. Horrible disease. And then it makes like cancerous things grow on the sides of their heads too, so they look crazy.
And that sounds a lot like the descriptions of the not deer in some ways.
It does, but it doesn't.
I mean, not the legs being backwards and the sharp teeth, I guess.
Yeah. Like this image we're seeing, this one up here,
Yeah.
is not chronic wasting disease.
Yeah.
They would never be this complete.
Right. Right.
There's a reason they call them zombie deer. If you saw the pictures, do it on your own time. I am not going to pull them up on this podcast because they are very graphic.
Okay.
A follow-up sign is a change of behavior, which includes listlessness, tumors, tremors, and nervousness, which doesn't explain them getting closer to the humans, but excessive salivation and increased water intake follow. The deer loses its fear of humans, which is contradictory to 2 sentences back, and looks utterly confused. After this, the wasting begins, and those who favor this explanation for the not deer suggesting that the accounts of double-jointed or multiple-jointed legs are merely that the legs that have lost some internal tissue, allowing the lower leg to swing slightly in the other direction.
Okay. I mean, that does kind of complete the picture. I remember, not that they're not a thing, but I see why they lean towards that.
Yeah, it's a good explanation.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I am sorry about that. So I was able to pull one decent Reddit account I wanted to read, and that should bring us
About the Not Deer.
Yeah, this should bring us close, because this is a little bit of a story, but it's good. So, you know how Reddit is. They're either really short or really long.
Yeah. They're either a sentence or two,
Yes.
or they're a whole.
This is 2 pages, so let me just go ahead and
Okay.
take this to the fucking dome, and we'll move forward.
Let's hear it.
All right. So this is from Reddit, and this is the only story on this Reddit thread, but this thread goes on for miles. There's like 126 pages of responses to this. Pretty good little story. Great responses. I like the Reddit threads that are crazy, but there's people talking, because the bullshit ones, people are like, yeah, whatever, and not respond.
And move on.
Yeah. But this one's pretty good. So this is written by Ampersand Datsus on Reddit. So shout out to Ampersand, good job. And oh geez, wait, I bet to look up, because this is in Virginia. I want to figure out where this is compared to where I am. So this story takes place in Waynesboro, Virginia.
See if you have to worry about being devoured by a not deer.
Yeah, because my new job is surrounded by trees. Waynesboro, Virginia. Oh no, he's way out of there. Okay. He's way over there. Yeah, he's practically in West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
So he's off. This guy's off in the mountains. So, this is Ampersand Datsus on Reddit, his personal account. He says, and I quote, I lived in Waynesboro, Virginia for about 5 years, less than 10 miles into the BRP North Entrance. I don't know what BRP is. I haven't lived here long enough. Skyline Drive South Entrance. I'm assuming it's mountains, because that's about where Waynesboro was, is close to the mountains in West Virginia. I used to take bike rides through, or all along. He named a specific road here, but then he abbreviated SD all the time, and always keeping the year-long membership. Oh, so it's a state park. I gotcha.
Okay.
Only in a day, though, just to frame the story. One night, I was having a particularly hard time settling in for bed, so I decided to start up the bike and ride up for the first overlook on the skyline, only about a mile inside the park. This was about 11 p.m. when I got up there, and it was pitch black. I killed the bike and immediately became uncomfortable. I'm not the guy who gets spooked in the dark. I need to make this bigger. I can't see shit. Very small font. I'm not the guy who gets spooked in the dark. Truthfully, I prefer the dark in most situations. You can see people before they see you. You're practically invisible unless someone is looking for you, and I find the natural privacy comforting. Not up there, though. It was thick, oppressive dark. Worse than anything I experienced outside of a cave, and worse than any moonless night on the Appalachian Trail. I immediately got... This just might be a typo. I'm not sure what word he wanted to use here. Freaked out, maybe?
Okay.
He is hinked. 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 I immediately got freaked out, big time. There's nothing up here besides wildlife, I reassured myself internally. I had my 44 mag revolver tucked under my CCW holster, so I knew I definitely outmatched anything that could be up here. So I sat in the dark, leaning against the bike for a while, and look at the few lights I could see in the valley below. I managed about 10 minutes before I physically felt the hair raise on the back of my neck. I only did 27 months in Iraq, but I remember that precise feeling someone was watching me. Something
Only 27.
only
months.
27 months, right? That's over 2 years.
Jeez, dude. Yeah.
That was
jeez.
a standard deployment, wasn't it? No, 16 months is standard deployment.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a long stretch in a war zone.
Any stretch in Iraq is rough
Yeah.
on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Something bad was coming. It was the same sensation I would get before an IDF came in or a shooting started somewhere nearby. I'm no psychic or whatever, but it's a common thing among vets with any time under their belt. Ask them about it, you can feel hateful eyes on you. The overlook was a sheer drop, so I wasn't concerned about anything popping up in that direction, but the mountainside was behind me. I started thinking about methed out dudes creeping up the Appalachian trails, bears, and the like. The AT is no stranger to random violence. Still feeling creeped out, I took up a seat on the waist-high stone wall that marked the overlook ledge facing the woods. Again, I can't emphasize how dark it was. Oh, but Grizz, you say, why not turn on the bike and use it for lights? It'll help you at least see what's close. True, but my old bike is loud, and that's the last thing I want is attention. Plus, the light would be just night blinding to me, anything else out of view, and the noise would obscure any stealthy sounding creepings going on. So, no thanks, I'll watch and listen from the dark for a bit. I sat in the dark for another 10 minutes or so, anxiety getting worse and worse. I heard a few things, but nothing out of the ordinary for a night in the woods. I decided to head home since the feeling wasn't going away. Like I said, I had a big bore on me, so anything playing games would be in for a powerful surprise if the games got stupid. Yeah, sounds like a vet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, every vet I know carries a big gun all the time. Hopping onto my Suzuki, I started it up and rode off towards the gate. Now, anyone who lives in the country and rides a bike knows that wildlife is crazy active on roads that aren't traveled often at night. Being nighttime and technically closed, I had to ride around the gate to get in. There were no other vehicles on the road at all. I hadn't seen a single person since living Waynesboro proper. The speed limit was 30 miles an hour, but I clipped along at a measly 15 miles per hour to keep an eye out for deer and wildlife. It wouldn't do any good to fuck myself up in a wreck, only to lay there all night until someone happened to cross me in the morning. Then I saw it. The term of almost deer is a really fitting, but not quite accurate description. It was like a deer that someone who had never seen a deer drew, but only after somebody described it to them. It stood on the left side of the road, the mountainside, and I saw the eyes long before my headlight shone it fully. It was big, easily the biggest deer I've ever seen, and the lack of any horns easily the biggest deer I've ever seen, and the lack of any horns that time of year suggested that it was a doe. The head was almost bovine-shaped, but fixed to a deer's frame. So that's the second time we've got a reference to the bovine head.
Yeah.
So I guess a cow's head would be bigger in the back.
Yeah.
Much shorter and stout.
And then, yeah, nose is wider but shorter.
Yeah. So I guess
And they have I guess they have a slightly more pronounced brow.
Yeah.
You know, the brow bones.
So I guess it's like a roided out deer. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Like the head.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the word bovine go? Okay. The legs seem to be long in proportion to the body. Think maned wolf proportions. So that's the wolf you're always talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Which we looked at that a couple episodes back.
Interesting that he knows what that is.
Yeah.
When was this posted?
Good question. I could find out. Let me look it up right quick.
I'm just curious because that's not, while there's a lot of pictures of it now, there weren't. at one time.
5 years ago.
Interesting.
It just says 5 years ago. That's all.
It just lines up with something else I've been looking into.
Oh,
Go on.
Interesting
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah, go on. 5 years. That's go on.
The body was extremely barrel-chested. I've always been creeped out by malformed wildlife, and this was no exception. Unfortunately, I had to get it to move, or risk passing it within a few feet of it. I was not traveling another 30-plus miles up the road in the other direction to leave another gate in the middle of the night, and I wasn't getting closer to it. Dangers of spooking it and running into the side of it and side of my cruiser aside, I didn't want to get near it at all. Stopping and putting my feet down about 30 feet away from it, I tried to frighten it away. I flashed my beams down to low and back to high, nothing. I revved the engine, nothing. I honked, the considerable horn, nada. Resting the bike on the kickstand, I left it idling and I hopped off. I yelled at the thing, and it still didn't budge. So I started to the side of the road to grab something to toss near the deer, hoping to spook it away. As soon as I crossed to the other lane, it rose up on its hind legs. I froze, putting my hand on my gun. I wasn't about to get charged by an angry, confused, malformed doe. It took 2 jerky, unnatural steps towards the center of the lane on 2 legs and froze again, staring directly at me. It suddenly shook its head wildly like a dog with a toy, took another short step, then hopped on 2 legs several times until it disappeared into the darkness on the right side of the road. I stepped back to the bike, mounted it, kicked up the kickstand, turned on the light towards the side of the road. On that side, there was a sheer drop-off, about 75, 80-degree drop, compared to the roadway, and the fucking thing's head was just peeking over the edge, staring at me. 80-degree drop?
Mm-hmm.
So like this?
Yeah. And it's just
standing on the 80-degree slope. Oh, shit.
just
Yeah.
What's up, buddy? What are you doing?
Hey, friend.
What are you doing on your bike there?
Time to talk about your car's extended warranty. Oh.
Do you have time? Do you have time to talk about the second coming of Jesus?
You talk about your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Wait, come back.
That was when I got out of there. He started talking about Jesus.
Creepy ass deer.
He says, I cracked the throttle, beat the hell out of there, rolled wildlife be damned. I never went back up on Skyline Drive at night alone after that. One time was enough. There are things we don't grow out there. Or things that just visit for a while, whatever it was. It wasn't from around these here parts. It can go back to wherever the hell it came from and stay there. Great fucking story.
Yeah, that's a great story.
So I've seen deer do the hind leg thing.
Hopping?
Not hopping. All right.
Yeah.
So if you know anything about me, I used to live in Arkansas. You know.
I know.
My dad was really big on hunting, so he would take me out all the time. I've never been a hunter. I would go out, sit in a tree stand, hold a muzzleloader, whatever. I never killed a deer in my life. I probably never will. But I have seen lots and lots of deer. I could say, I think I can count maybe on one hand how many times I've seen a deer go up on its hind legs. But it's, but it's like, how do I describe it? Like once it's up on its hind legs, it immediately knows it's not supposed to be at this angle, and it just drops right back down. I think of like we've all seen the videos of like National Geographics of the deer, or not the deer, the rams that'll rear up and then slam each other.
Yeah.
That's about how long I've seen a deer on its hind legs.
Okay. Yeah, and this guy's describing it basically just raising up.
Yeah.
standing there,
The bitch came
waggling its head.
Bitch came from the shoulder to
then-
the center of the road in 2 steps.
Yeah, and then jumped, hopped on 2 legs to hop off the road.
I can't even think. I really doubt if we were to look it up, we could find videos of deer hopping on their hind legs.
No, I don't even know that they're, given the way the muscle and the leg structure works.
Right.
I mean, dogs can do it, but like not all dogs. So like for instance, Gus, my German Shepherd, he stands up on his hind legs all the time when we're fucking around, and he can stand there like that. But once their legs are already all the way like that, they're already all the way extended,
Yeah.
muscle-wise. There's no more to do.
They're not going to be
Like,
making
no-
a step.
Yeah, I mean he can totter a little bit, back and forth, but I mean like a jump to like actively,
Oh, yeah.
move across the road, the butt muscle is already fully contracted to pull his leg that straight.
Yeah,
So,
it's...
I mean, deer aren't built dissimilarly. I've seen little dogs sort of hop a little bit, but I think that's a weight to size ratio for the muscle. That's super odd. That would be very creepy to see.
I'm just going to Google, see if I can find anything. Oh, geez. First thing I get is a Reddit. It's
On Not Deer?
No, it's our paranormal. It says deer screaming and sprinting out of the woods on hind legs. Oh, Jesus. Let's see if I can find a video. Okay, so there's a bunch of videos of like deer fighting.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see this right quick. Because I get the feeling it's like seeing rabbits fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna pull this up on the server. See, you can see this too. Yeah. Wrong mouse. Let me get it muted so we don't have fucking audio. So yeah, that's about what I expected.
Yeah.
Kinda awkward.
Oh, it's hopping. It's hopping though. Like a lot. That one is hopping after the other one. See? Watch. Hop, 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 hop.
But okay, so their heads are tilted up because that's the way their muscle structure is built, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said it was staring at him
and they're
the
also
whole
probably
time.
trying to. They're also those two are probably trying to keep their head out of the way of each other's hooves.
But that motherfucker's not hopping across the road in 2 steps.
No, it's not that. I mean, it's pretty awkward and it's pretty short.
It's like a 12-inch jump, maybe.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't.
Very odd.
So if a deer were to do that, yeah, the description of that story sounds nothing like this.
No, I mean, you could make the argument that, maybe it thought, in the dark that it thought it was a competing male.
But he said
You
it was
know,
a
and
doe
so
and
is-
it had no horns.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, I guess it could have lost. I mean,
Yeah.
but still, yeah, I see what you're saying.
It is wild, man. I like the
Yeah.
Not Deer. It's a cool rabbit hole I went down many years ago. I've listened to a bunch of, so there's like tons of like firsthand accounts, like people saying that they see him with long, sharp teeth. My favorite description is the legs backward.
Yeah, like that sketch.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it looked
Love
like it was walking on its,
Yeah,
on
but-
on its wrist, like. Well, I guess you can't do it for the camera, but
Yeah.
like that, like its arms turned around the
Yeah.
wrong way. Because whenever it showed the the face on sketch of it, it had its like arm like curled back this way.
Yeah.
In that same sketch. Yeah.
Let's look at these other ones right quick while we're here. Oh,
Ooh, that's good. I like that. Oh,
geez.
oh my God.
Wait, what's that?
That is horrifying.
There's an eyeball right there.
Is there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is horrifying. Even the tongue.
Oh,
Oh, that one's got hands.
it's like a kangaroo.
I mean, kangaroo or just deer that have done time.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's
creepy.
yeah. See, that feels like a good description because its legs are really long.
And it's in the wrong place. Like,
Yeah, it's like the back
its
leg is. In
is
the...
like,
Oh wait, there's 5 legs there. 1,
are there?
2, 3. There's another one back here. That's 4.
Oh,
and 5.
it's got fifth deer leg.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Spookaroni and cheese.
Pepperoni and cheese.
Oh, that's just weird. A black deer,
It's almost dog-like.
almost bear-like.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, if these like that looks like AI, but those other ones looked like
Yeah.
real.
Ooh,
Hmm.
that's kind of what you get with wasting disease.
Is it?
Yeah.
Dang.
Oh. Okay,
Oh, he's got a shirt.
that's the last one. Yeah, there's some cool
That
ones
one
there.
looks like AI too, but yeah, some of those others look really good. Huh.
But yeah, Not Deer. Check that out. So for a while there, on my Discord, I used to do like a weekly, like, here's this week's cryptid, and I would post a wiki article about it. And I realized I was the only one reading them, so I just quit doing it. But this was like number 3, and that was like 2 years ago, and I've been a fan of Not Deer ever since.
So back to this, you said it's SCP?
SCP, yes.
SCP. So you said there's a whole SCP wiki?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Thousands and thousands of these things called SCPs. They are fucking wild, man. So there's one that became really popular on TikTok that as long as you keep it within, as long as somebody's watching it, it can't move.
What happens if you don't?
It kills you.
Oh.
So it looks like it's made out of paper mache. It's got a crazy painted face, but its head is like weird proportions. So like, let me set up this video because I know I'm not going to be able to find the video quickly. So like, 2 armed guards are escorting a lady down a long hallway, pushing a mop and bucket, and they open up the door, and this SCP is facing the wall, right? Back wall. And
Okay.
this lady's going in there to mop up the blood out of the cell.
It looks like what, like a stack of boxes?
No, it's like paper mache.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find a picture of it. I just gotta find out what the SCP number is.
My God. Also, that they have numbers.
Yeah, because there's so many.
Yeah.
I guess they couldn't name them all.
Yeah.
Is it 173? Might be. Let me see. Yeah, SCP-173. Let me go back to that. We'll use this later for the thumbnail. SCP-173. He's a weird cookie. There we go.
Oh.
Ads. We are not sponsored by Liberty Mutual.
SCP stands for Special Containment Procedures.
Yes. That's it. I knew it was special containment. I couldn't remember what the last word was. There you go. He's weird, paper mache looking. Okay, so in the video, they escort two armed guards escort a lady into the cell to clean the cell because there's blood. So she's mopping up the floor. Meanwhile, one guard is staring, and then he counts down. And then when he reaches one, the other guard opens his eyes. The first guard closes his eyes. So they can't blink. And then he does like 10, 12 seconds. And then when he gets to one, the other guard opens his eyes. The first one closes. The second one closes his eyes. So there's always a period where one of the guards have their eyes open. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And the girl accidentally drops her mop, and when it hits the ground, you know the sound it makes. The guard looks at the mop, and in that split second, that SCP kills the other guard.
Dude.
Yeah. But this is what it looks like. He's wild. He's a weird one.
So, are all the SCPs written as though they're from an organization?
The SCP Foundation is the organization.
Yeah, but I'm saying here's one. Item number SCP-1551. Special containment procedures. 2 agents are to integrate themselves into the town of blank blank, Argentina under civilian guise. Integrating agents are to move into 12 blank street, a purchased house, in order to maintain constant surveillance of SCP-1551. Any civilian coming within 30 meters of SCP-1551 are to be questioned, and if not found to be an instance of SCP-155-X, given a Class C amnesic and released. New instances of SCP-1551-X are to be interviewed for confirmation of having gone through the events associated with SCP-1551 before being allowed into SCP-1551. At this time, precautions against a resident of SCP-1551 leaving the containment area are not necessary. SCP-1551 appears to be a dilapidated house.
This is SCP-1551.
Nice. Nice. Where is it?
Let's see. It's the repeating house is what they're calling it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Why did you go
And
full?
it says SCP-1551 is a house located in blank, Argentina. SCP-1551 is associated with
you're reading this right here, the redacted document.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. These, let's see. 1551 is associated with a repetitive sequence of events that target humans, causing them to eventually be forced by circumstances to live in SCP-1551. These humans are individually assigned a number so that the first known human under SCP-1551 would be referred to as 155101, the second human, and so on. When the previous human living in 551 dies, the sequence of events associated with 1551 repeats. According to reports dating back as far as 19 blank, the events have repeated themselves 23 times, with the current individual being number 23. Also, all iterations have begun with the previous individual's suicide, with the only exception being an accident from falling off the roof of 551 during repairs.
Wow. So
Theory
do you see why I went down this rabbit hole now?
Yeah, I do.
I would be okay if we did an episode each month on an SCP. There are many, very many.
Subject spends all of his time attempting to repair 551. This task is impossible for a single person, The only time he is outside 551 is to tend to the backyard garden, the only area of the property that is not in a state of gross disrepair. Is fully cooperative toward any Foundation personnel and has lived on the property for years. The longest of any human that has lived in 551 since coming into Foundation custody. So they have the house?
I'm guessing.
Is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
They have interview logs, translation from Spanish. That is...
It is a wild fucking rabbit hole, man. I'll let you do that. It is fucking crazy. But Not Deer is an SCP. Let me see what the number is. It is... Where'd it go? SCP-6448.
is the deer, the not deer?
Yeah.
So if you just wiki, or I mean, if you just search, SCP.
Yeah, look, there you go.
Yeah, well, I'm saying if you just wiki SCPs Argentina, these are the ones. There's a bunch of them.
Oh wow, there's tons of information here. Wow, yeah. Oh my
Doesn't
gosh.
that seem odd?
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah, you know I'm getting at.
Yeah.
You know I'm getting at. I ain't gonna say it, but you know I'm getting at.
We're gonna talk about this eventually.
Dude.
I'm hoping that the brighter listeners are catching on to our consistencies of what we're talking about. This is a recurring subject. Yeah, going down that rabbit hole, man. Have fun with it.
Dude.
Welcome to my brain.
Yeah. So I'm gonna look at that some more. I doubt it. I mean, I doubt if they list it as an SCP, but
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's very interesting. So the show that I saw talked about the paper mache one, but they portrayed it as like stacked boxes with a painted face on them.
I'm sure that would be like an interpretation of it.
So like, I do know that in Argentina, the SCP thing is like a big social meme, like as a country.
Yeah.
Not like that's their cryptid thing, like our Bigfoot, right? And so there's some videos of like custodial crews getting spooked by stacks of boxes in the hall because of the all the stories and some other stuff. There's CCTV video of stuff like that of people just running away.
Right.
But that's interesting how many threads came up just on my phone.
Oh yeah.
When you just look those two words up together, no other preamble, no nothing. It's very interesting.
It keeps coming up, man.
Keeps coming up. It keeps coming up. It's it doesn't help that the country's a giant black hole of information.
So Jesus, I just looked up SCP stack of boxes. There's like 17 references to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, have fun.
I guess I will.
Also,
now I know it's going to be now I know what I'm going to get distracted by at work tomorrow. I'll be sitting there at my computer. File management, and
SCPs.
Google. I'll just Google real quick 3 hours later.
Yeah, that's how it worked for me. I couldn't tell you how many times I've stayed up late, 3, 4 in the morning. Started off, I'm just gonna play on my phone for a few minutes because I get a lot of nightmares from stuff that happened in my past. You know what I'm talking about. And so I'll play on my phone for like 20 or 30 minutes to reset the brain in between nightmares. And next thing you know, it's like 4 in the morning. And I've been Googling and watching videos and oh geez, it's just it's a gift and a curse. It really is.
I find that we'll have to do. It'd be cool to do SCPs on the next episode. I'll look for some of the ones that I like, and I'll go down Argentina connection a little bit.
Okay.
For
yeah.
next time, because I had forgotten all about this. I had actually known something about this previously, and I had forgotten all about
The
this.
SCPs?
So I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up.
Yeah, it's
I've actually watched something that talked quite a bit about them. Not it with any like. I mean, I want to say they had videos that they claimed were evidence. I don't remember how good it was, but I'll pick some out that I like, and you pick some out that you like.
Oh, sure,
And
yeah.
I guess the interesting thing about it is, I mean, I guess SCP is like, you know, a catch-all for like unexplained weirdness. But the interesting thing is that, you know, if someone's out there faking this, it is the longest fictional story anybody's.
Oh yeah, I mean, like what you were saying, there was original Spanish translations.
Yeah.
I mean, come the fuck on.
Right. So I always wonder about this stuff that, you know, has these long-lasting effects in society, and I always wonder, like, you know, okay, so why is it? So is it because it's a popular story? Is it because it's so old? In this case, it's not so old, so you can't use that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the SCP, some of these things are going to be lore-ish, like.
Yeah.
But like, you know, for instance, when we talked about the Jersey Devil, right? Like, it doesn't stick around because there's any great evidence. It sticks around because it's come up a couple of times, and it's older than the U.S.
Yeah.
Like, it's older than the story is older than the United States. So it makes sense that it's stuck, right? Great story from a time when no one would have needed any evidence to believe this, and then it ended up in the paper, and then it's, you know, it's become a cultural idea, you know, a cultural meme. But I wonder about stuff like this, right? Like that's relatively newer, and why. You know, I feel like if this is just somebody writing it, they would have gotten bored eventually.
Right. But there's thousands and thousands of them.
Yeah, and I'm gonna look some more at Reddit too on some of these too to see how long some of the streams are, because the other thing is when you put, like you said, when you have a Reddit thread where somebody puts, you know, like a long story and then a whole bunch of people interact with it, it's like, oh my god, I thought nobody else had ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I was the only one, kind of thing, right? Like, and not just like a blurb that's like meant to be funny, but like somebody else was legitimately thought they were the only one to see this, and it wasn't aliens, and so they didn't know what to think. They just thought they're hallucinating or whatever. But then you have several people stacking up having seen the same thing. I find that way more intriguing, right, than like honestly even some of the UFO stuff. Not because, you know, UFOs are played out. I think there's something to them too, but I think they stick around for the same reason, right? I think there's something, right? There's a little kernel of something about it that makes it persist, either in truth or in experience. So I think the same might be true for some of this SCP stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we ought to cover it next time. That's
that's
very good.
I can relate to exactly what you said when somebody would see something and be like, oh shit, I thought I was the only one. Because I have what's called it's unofficially scientifically called macroplasia. I was diagnosed with it 6-7 years ago. And
what is it?
I just thought it was something that happened in my brain sometimes, and then I just happened to stumble upon something on Facebook about it. I found a Facebook group. So it's also known as Alice in Wonderland syndrome. Yeah, this is wild. Get ready for this. So 90% of the time for me, it happens when it's dark. But 3/4 of the time it happens when I'm driving at night. I don't know what it is, but I get the sensation that parts of my body are way larger than they really are.
Oh, okay.
So the first time I remember it happening, it felt like my tongue and my teeth were very, very large.
Okay.
But then I would like walk into the bathroom and look at myself in the mirror, and it would go away. And then as soon as I walk away, it would come back. It's really hard to describe.
No, I mean you're describing it well.
Yeah,
I've never heard of such a thing.
So, like maybe a month ago, it happened, and I was driving at night, coming back from my grandpa's funeral. So like my last flight, my flight landed at like 11 o'clock at night. So it was like an hour and a half drive home, and 30 minutes outside of town. Once everything got thoroughly dark, I felt it in my hands. My hands felt like Mickey Mouse hands, like huge gloves were in my hands.
What?
Yeah, it's really strange. It's really hard to describe. And like younger kids get it a lot and they freak out because they don't know how to translate it. And it's it only affects like 3 or 4% of adults. It usually goes away with puberty, but it just didn't go away with me. But I found a support group on Facebook, and I just stumbled upon it, and I got tired of this weird sensation all the time. Because you remember when I worked for DOT, I was driving all the time. And it would happen driving home at night at the end of the day, driving, 4-hour drive back in the middle of the night. And it would happen, and sometimes I would have to pull over because the sensation was so strange. And dealing with that for years, I just thought there was something wrong with me. I didn't say anything. And then I just Googled it one night, and the first thing that popped up was the support group for it. The common term for it is Alice in Wonderland syndrome. But it's where you have the sensation of parts of your body are disproportionately large. So like when Alice Alice eats the growing pills or the growing candy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that, but only parts of your body.
Because I have experienced that feeling, but it was definitely involved heavy reality altering mechanisms, shall we say?
Okay.
But that's all I'm gonna say. But I experienced it because I was out at the lake, and finally it was late enough. I was like, I just have to go home, and I didn't live that far away from the lake at the time. And I went to drive home, and it felt like, the way my arms currently look on camera.
Yeah.
That's how it felt reaching the steering wheel. Like whenever I looked out, it was like I had long ass noodle arms. They didn't look like noodles, but it looked like the car just seemed infinitely big. It was like my torso and head had gotten tiny, but my limbs were still super long, like looking into a funhouse mirror. So that's the closest I can think of that felt like what you're describing.
So here's the way a medical website describes it. Alice in Wonderland syndrome is a brain-related condition that disrupts the way you perceive your own body, the world around you, or both. Named for the famous children's storybook. This rare condition makes things look or feel larger or smaller than they actually are. It can happen for several reasons, many temporary or treatable. Let me see, how else do they describe it? It can affect up to 30% of teenagers, but up to 3% of adults.
30%.
The first recorded instance is in 1955, and then fewer cases than 200 in 2016. It's also known as AIWS.
AIWS.
Disturbances in self-perception, disturbances in visual processing, and combined symptoms. Yeah.
So I'll save it for next time. But I have a story about the intersection of medical technique, unethical medical techniques, melded with the use of perception altering mechanisms.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It is. I'll tell the story next time because it's so good. It ought to be our opener next time. But
cool. We'll do it.
It sounds like it's cowboy science to the max.
Okay.
But it's a real thing. and it's a thing that some people practice, but it's wild.
I think we should have like an episode every couple months where we just sit and chat about random things.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Because between the two of us, we could talk about anything. And
oh yeah,
there's tons of stuff I want to touch on. Like I don't feel like we could do an episode, but it wouldn't necessarily be in the vein we're trying to hit.
Mm-hmm.
But it would make for a good conversation. And you're gonna be like, yeah, we should talk about it. But we should talk about ayahuasca.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
That massive book that we both read.
Yep.
Awesome fucking book. I still talk about it to this day. Yeah, we could talk about that. We could talk about, the LSD experiments in the 70s.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it is UFO, paranormal, and strange happenings. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
maybe like a special, like maybe once we get Patreon going, if we get Patreon going, we could do like a special episode where we talk about stuff like that, or just like we could find a day to do an extra recording and do just like a chill sesh.
that'd be good. I have volumes of stuff I could share that are not, I looked at the wall and it was wiggling. It's interesting. That's kind of the thing that I tell, like when people, talk about, they had, a spiritual experience or they saw, UFO. I've never had those things unaided personally. I've never had a weird experience that I couldn't explain except on, some sort of mechanism like that. And, you could be like, oh, well, that's what they're supposed to do. Except some of the stories that I would relate, I don't think are common happenings or experiences. They're certainly not the archetypal experiences that people have, which some of that can be due to exposure in those spaces. Like if you just do it like once or twice, probably you're going to have a fairly typical experience.
I am bleeding.
Versus like hundreds of times in that same space. I think that your the experience starts to vary wildly,
and
as opposed to your fairly archetypical stuff. Like when people talk about an LSD experience, the vast number of people that do it 1 to 20 times have pretty much the same experience.
Well,
but when you start to get into like hundreds of times, it starts to seem different. And
it could be a very interesting flip in the format for the podcast, because I have never done anything. I smoked weed once and it was a horrible fucking experience. Do you want to hear the story? I'll throw the story at you real quick.
Yeah, tell me the story.
So I'll use real names because I don't really give a shit about these people anymore. So right after high school, I was living with my brother, because my mom told me, she said, you can either move out when you're 18 or you can move out after you graduate. So the night of graduation, I went home and packed. Everybody else went out and partied. I went home and packed. I was ready to move out. Bounced around a couple places. Ended up landing on my brother's couch for probably about a year after high school. And, we would go to the clubs. I was 18. I turned 18. I didn't smoke cigarettes, but I went and bought a pack of cigarettes just because I could. Right. And so 18, my brother's like, let's go to the club. So we would drive to Fayetteville to go to the club. We lived in Bentonville at the time. And while we're driving to the club, they would light up a joint and we'd be passing it around. And they'd be like, here, hit this. I'm like, not really my thing. Because at the time, 18, I'd never smoked weed before.
Right.
And, like the second, third time they passed me the joint, I would puff it, but I didn't inhale it and hand it back. And like, here you go. Cool. I'm high. Ooh, we're going to have I am so blitzed. Yeah, that was me as an 18-year-old. I was very, very unexciting. But like 3-4 weeks go by after, doing the fake puff. My brother was at work and his roommate Cody was there. And Cody's like, hey, bro, you want to smoke out? I was like, cool, yeah. I was like, I'm cool, I'm home. you know, because that's where I drank is when I was at home. I don't like going out and drinking. So I was like, you know, cool, I'm home. I'll smoke out and I'll actually inhale this time. And so we're sitting in dude's room, and like the archetype of a stoner, all he had in his room was a pile of clothes and a futon, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting on dude's futon staring at his pile of clothes, and you know, I inhaled 3-4 times. I was like, yeah, I'm good. Like I think I felt the weed, and I was squinty, so I was like, yeah, I'm good, man. So I went and sat on the couch, and then things started getting weird with my vision, right? So I laid down because I didn't like it. And I think like a girl I was dating came over, and I like told her, I was like, no, I'm not really feeling good. You need to go home. But I remember laying face down on the futon in the living room, and I heard a noise, and so I turned my head. And like 20 seconds after I turned my head, the vision caught up. But it was like frames. And it felt horrible. I hated it. And so I went and, you know, like any teenager, go lay on the bathroom floor. That's where you're going to feel the best, right? So I go to lay on the bathroom floor thinking I'm going to get sick a few times. Eventually it fades after, you know, like 30 minutes. And so the next day, my brother's like, you want to smoke out? And I was like, no, I don't. He's like, what? Why not? He's like, you were into it the other day. And I was like, no, I smoked out with Cody the other day. And he's like, what do you mean? And so I explained the high to him, and he's like, that's not weed. So he goes into Cody's room. They start arguing. He comes back, and Cody comes out, and he's like, describe the high. And so I told him about it, and he's like, oh no, that's not weed. That was the angel dust.
Oh my god.
I said, what?
Fuck.
Dude dosed me with the fucking angel dust. And that was the first and last time I smoked weed. That was it.
Yeah, well, I get that. That makes sense.
It killed it for me. And from that point on, you know, I smoke. I smoke cigarettes sometimes, and I vape, and I drink. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it's ever been for me since then. Yeah.
Dude, that's rough.
Tell me about
it. That's the worst first experience I've ever heard of.
Yeah, it was
ever.
Like, oh my god, dude. So it was like, from laying face down to turning my head, after like 20 seconds, the vision would start to move. It was like, there wasn't movement. It was like, my vision was a camera, and it was a still shot. Then I move a little bit, still shot. Move a little bit, still shot, but I can still see the trail of the still shots behind me. It was so fucking bad. It killed it for me, man.
That's awful.
Yeah. Horrible fucking experience. And since then, you know, people are like, you want to hit this joint? I'm like, nope, you got it, bro.
Not really.
I'm gonna smoke this cigarette and drink this wine. You got it, bro.
Oh, you homie. That's terrible.
I have never felt bad about turning it down since then.
Oh, I mean, I get that. I've never. I mean, I have definitely, to you know, done it to myself. But I've turned around and been like, you know, oh, what, you know, what's a couple more kind of thing,
right? And
then been like, oh my god,
yeah, yeah. It
what
was.
Did I do to myself?
It was so bad.
I knew what I did, so it's not, you know. Like, the worst is that I knew that I did it, but like that, I wouldn't. I've never had the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of memes that are like, your buddy lets you dip the bag, and 10 minutes later you find out it's the K, not the C.
Oh.
Like, that sucks. That would suck. Or he says, here, dip this bag, and you hit it like it's the C, not the K, and then find out it's the letter. Oops.
And you know, like my wife does CBD for anxiety. You know, I have thought about, like, I had like a CBD gummy in my hand, about to chew on this thing, and then the last minute I'm like, you know what? I'll be okay. and I set it down because all that runs through my fucking head is that horrible PCP experience. No big
No,
deal.
I get that.
It's just because I feel like maybe CBD will help with some of my issues. I've got a whole smattering of them, but yeah. Sorry to go on a tangent there, but that was I like telling that story so people would know that
that's a good story.
Because people look at me and they think, "Oh yeah, dude's a fucking stoner." I do not smoke weed. I do not at all.
No, he definitely doesn't know.
No.
I did know that. I did know that.
That's why.
I did not know that was why. But
Yeah.
I did know that.
I thought I had told you that story, or maybe I was too afraid to tell it, or something.
I feel like you told me that you had tried it and you had a bad experience. You had not relayed the rest of that. You said it was just horrible and you weren't into it and you weren't down for it. And I remember I tried to convince you at one point. Even I was like, no man, it was probably just because it was the first time, because I didn't know all the rest of them. Like, yeah, well I mean it's definitely I see why.
But I will say, I have always, since meeting you, of course, if I were to do anything, it would either be DMT or ayahuasca. But I've always, since I've met you, I've always had this, like, I'm going to do it one day, but he's going to be there. And that's the only way I'm going to feel safe when I do it.
I'm not going to sit here on the podcast and advocate, the doing of anything, but here is always my advice to people about this, because I've had people, it comes up, right? Because, my art, I mean, the way my art looks, right? People, people always want to bring it up, and I have a deep, former history with it. But my advice, people are like, well, I'm really worried about it, but like maybe I should try it. I'm like, look, are you more afraid or are you anxious excited? If you're anxious excited, do whatever you want to do. If you're more afraid, then skip it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I appreciate you read all kinds of books where people's lives get changed, and that is true. That doesn't mean that's what's going to happen for you. So my advice for people always is, if you've always wanted to, I mean, you're an adult, go do whatever you're going to do. But if it's, don't let somebody talk you into it, first of all, and don't let, like that situation with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, somebody talked you into it, and people around you are always like, hey, try this. In that case, the recipe for disaster was that it wasn't what they said it was.
Yeah.
Right? But I happen to I've known guys that don't react well to even smoking weed. Like they have almost like a out of body experience type of thing with it, which in my 20s that was never what I experienced. That was just what we all did all the time. And it was not a big deal. It was like it was like going and having a beer. After school we'd go smoke weed. And it was nothing. I mean, but I know that that's not the experience for other people. So my caution would be that that's going to be the same case with everything.
Yeah.
The fact is it may not be the same, but I can understand from my stories and my experiences why that would be appealing. I mean, once upon a time, way back, whenever I started painting, it changed everything about my pursuits as an artist. Not so much because it like gave me information that I didn't have before. It wasn't that, but it pared down what I thought was cool and important in my artwork. It was kind of like got it. And the thing that it really taught me was, at least for me as an artist, was I had this epiphany, like you be the audience. Because I was always worried when I was painting, like, oh, I don't know if people will like this. I don't know if I can make a living with this. I don't know if someone would buy this. Like, that was always my thinking. Like how does an artist decide how to make a thing? Because you're trying to, you do want to make a living at it. But the thing that I was forgetting, or the thing that I didn't realize, that I realized after having those experiences, was most artists that are, famous or well known, if you ask them early on, this was my whole a 2-hour, 3-hour like processing of this in my backyard one time. Sitting there in the backyard, and most of them painted because they couldn't stop themselves, and they painted not so much because they cared whether anyone was going to buy it. They just painted because they couldn't stop themselves from painting. They're painting stuff that they like. So the thing that I realized was that rather than worry about what anyone else thought, I just needed to paint stuff that I like. I just paint things that I think are super awesome. So if you ask me, like, is your art good? Well, I mean, I think it's great because I paint it. I paint stuff that like I would put on my wall and never get tired of looking at ever, because I just love my own stuff because I only paint stuff that I love. So, I would say, for me, I had transformative experiences like that regularly. But I would say that a lot of that comes from the inside, and it's more like a tuning fork, bing, and all of a sudden you're on a different channel.
Which I get that.
But I recommend it for anybody that's interested. Anecdotally.
I say again, if I ever do it, you are going to have to be in the room, and I would want you to just sit there. That's it. And I would feel totally safe.
That says a lot. I appreciate that.
Aside from my wife is my best friend, and you are the only other best friend I got.
Homies for life.
That's right.
Homies for life.
Homies for life. For life.
For life.
Anywho, so let's go ahead and break it down. What do you think about the Squonk?
I think the Squonk is hilarious. I think it's awesome that it's a cryptid that has its own scientific classification to binomial nomenclature classification. I think that's so dope. I don't know how it got that, since no two people have the same description of it, other than that it melts into water, and is very sad. Very, very sad. But I mean, I think it's pretty bogus.
It's probably.
But it's cool.
I
think it's cool.
I will say at least this one has an escape plan. Because we've seen all these cryptids that you could shoot at them and they just are unfazed by bullets, and we've tried to capture it, but they're too fast. But this one, you can capture it, but it'll just turn into a puddle of tears.
Yeah, it just won't do you any good.
I
do like it, and I mean, I think it's made up, but it's a good story. Like it's a good story. This is way better than like the Jersey Devil.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and and you're like, why? The Jersey Devil's like, son of a demon, and or a devil or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but like, I mean, this is kind of an ingenious creation. If somebody made it up, like, especially when it came about, like somebody. I don't even know where you'd come up with that. I'm pretty, we're pretty creative guys, you and me. I have no idea where someone would get that shit from.
I could never come up with a squawk. Anything that would just dissolve into its own tears. But
the whole premise of it is just weird.
But
I like it. I do like it.
It's cool. I enjoyed it. I'm with you, but it's probably fake.
Yeah, I think it's fake. I think it's fake.
But Not Deer, on the other hand, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I feel like this one's kind of legit. I've seen more evidence to prove that it's legitimate than I have to prove that he's not real. Sure, there's some scientific explanations for some of the things, but explain the ones where he has sharp teeth.
So I like the wasting disease explanation. I'm not saying that solves it, but I mean, that in itself is incredibly interesting. I mean, it's terrible for the deer. Like, I mean, and it's contagious, and it's a bad thing for populations. But I'm gonna go look it up now, because now I want to know the mechanism of action that makes the deer dissolve.
It's horrible.
Now I have to know.
It's horrible.
Now I have to know how it happens. Like what is going on inside them that makes it happen, because that just blows my mind. But the Not Deer thing, this is not the first time I've heard this, and it's actually not the first time I've heard that Reddit thread that you read.
Oh yeah.
Once you read it, I recognized it. So I don't know. I weirdly find this stuff more plausible than, like, say, for instance, the poltergeist stuff.
Yeah.
Not because I don't believe that there aren't things from, like, in between realms, or even that there isn't a separate sort of overlaying dimension that you don't see because it's not quite the right phase.
Right.
It's not because I don't believe that stuff, but the poltergeist thing, I feel like in a lot of ways is a mental escape for people. Like, oh, your loved one died, but they could still be here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. Because like if somebody else's ghost is haunting them, then maybe yours is around just being nice and just just hanging out with you. Right.
Yeah.
It's like a weird comfort thing, even though comes from a bizarre twist of that. This, on the other hand, there's no bonus to this, right? Like there's no like psychological bonus to this being around. It doesn't it's not like
it's just terrifying.
Yeah, right. Like and there's all kinds of scary stuff out there, but like for instance, a lot of conspiracy theories, like a lot of stuff that I think of as like conspiracy.
Right.
A lot of those things really come out of a need for someone to solve or explain something bad happening to them.
Right.
Right. Like take the all the stuff about Bilderberg Group. I call it Build-A-Bear Group. But the secret cabal that runs all the world organizations, and I always call it the Build-A-Bear Group whenever I joke about with Paul. But that those sort of theories of like the deep state stuff. Not that there's not secret stuff going on in backroom deals and things like that, but the concept that there's some overarching entity controlling everyone's lives. I think what that does is for people whose lives are not great, or they don't like their own choices, or they don't like their own life, it's an easy way to explain why their life sucks as opposed to all the other reasons.
Right.
And so I understand why those conspiracy theories perpetuate, because they have a psychological component that helps the person, or they feel helped. They feel like it explains something that's terrible, right? Much like people saying nothing against people with Christian-based beliefs, but like it was just their time. God called them home, right? It has a psychological reinforcement for that. This doesn't, other than it's scary as shit. And I don't think anybody prefers to think that the dark is full of scary things. Nobody wants to believe that.
Right.
Right. And if you ask somebody like, oh, are there snarks and grunks out in the forest, they'll be like, no. Right. So I don't think anybody wants to believe this. Nobody wants to retell this tale because it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Like why they ran home out of the woods, right? Nobody wants to tell this tale. Because if I as a kid, I heard something creepy in the forest once and ran home, but I didn't see anything. I was just like, I really just got freaked out because I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And so I got scared.
Yeah.
Right. But to have a detailed story like this, again, there's no psychological reinforcement for it. So I want to believe that even if the Not Deer isn't real, the whole phenomenon of the CSP thing, man, I feel like there's got to be something. There's got to be a kernel of something there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why?
Right.
Like why?
Yeah. Like who would profit from it?
Right. Yeah.
Because they're not making movies about it or anything, right?
Right. Exactly. Just like I think you said before. You got to look at any of these stories, like the UFO stories, like when you believe them, like who gains?
Yeah.
From this, right? Like the people who are reluctant to tell their story and like their family drags it out of them and gets them to tell somebody, like they're not getting anything from this other than somebody calling them crazy.
Yeah.
So it seems more likely to be true, because otherwise why would they tell it when all it has is negative effects?
Right.
Same thing with this. It's a negative experience. All the CSP stuff is their negative experiences, their fears, and most of the people are going to think you're crazy when you tell them that this happened to you. So there's no real motivation
right.
to want to tell these stories.
Yeah.
And seem crazy. So I guess that makes me feel more like they're real. Kind of like your point every time we do UFOs, like who benefits? You don't benefit from people who experience this. There's no benefit. Like you said, you're not making money.
Like that guy told a story how he got freaked the fuck out and he had his hand in his fucking 44 the whole time, and then he ran scared out of the park. That's not a glorious story.
Mm-mm.
I get it.
Mm-mm.
Nobody's gonna want to retell a story that makes them seem like, yeah, I was fucking horrified. I was scared.
Like they're just afraid of noises in the dark.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Unless there was something there.
Unless it seemed important, like seemed important, and I think that's probably why if we go from the premise that these are true, which I'm willing to accept, the reason anybody would report this is because it's just so astounding and so crazy that they just couldn't but say something about it, even with whatever negative connotations might come from repeating a story like this. Like they felt like somebody else had to know because it was that terrifying.
Yeah.
And it was that weird and it was that far outside the norm.
If you helped one person, it would be enough.
Right.
Yeah.
People's opinions be damned. I have to write it down. Like I find that to be more credible.
Yeah.
Somehow than it seems like people profiteer off the ghost thing all the time.
Yeah.
Especially with popularized TV shows and stuff like
Nobody's
that.
making money off of a creepy fucking deer.
Right. So I feel like, I feel like it could be real.
We got a winner. We got a winner.
I like it. I like
ding,
the
ding, ding,
Not
ding,
Deer,
ding,
man.
ding.
And now I'm gonna have to go look up the backroom stuff because I have not.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was just a video game, man. I didn't know that they got that from a whole concept.
Oh yeah, just have fun with that.
I'm gonna.
I hope you don't plan on getting much sleep tonight.
CSPs and backrooms.
SCPs.
SCPs. Yeah, SCPs and backrooms. I'm gonna have to dive in. I'll be diving into CSPs all this week. So expect lots of drops onto the Beyond Shadows podcast Instagram.
So what are we thinking for next week? So we did a UFO, we did a cryptid. So I guess next is something ghost related. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we can do ghost related, or we can do the backrooms thing. That's sort of paranormal-ish, dimensional-ish.
Yeah, we might drop into the backrooms. That might be okay.
We could do the back because we already did cryptids, so probably maybe not do CSPs.
Yeah, we'll save
next week because
we
just did it.
Yeah. So
we just did, but I will start looking.
Let's dig into the backrooms next week.
Yeah, let's do the backrooms. That looks fun.
Yeah, it is.
That looks super
It's
fun.
a fucking blast, man. I love it. It's my favorite rabbit hole to go down. Yeah, well, let's do that. Okay, so next week we're doing backrooms. If anybody's got a recommendation for an episode, please feel free to email us at beyondshadowspodcast@gmail.com or message us on Instagram at Beyond Shadows Podcast. We are also on Facebook, Beyond Shadows Podcast, or Beyond the Shadows Podcast. To be clear, there are others with the same name. So, yeah, this one actually ran a little long, but we had a great episode.
No, it was very good.
We ran just short of just over 2 hours in this one. And yeah, we're usually cutting it down about an hour and a half. This was good. Yeah. See, and I was just thinking this earlier, was these videos are coming out. They're great. They're super clean, very minimal editing needing to be done because everything we say is pretty well relevant to what we're talking about. So we've got a huge video to upload this week. So tomorrow after work, I'll upload everything. So you'll be seeing this Monday afternoon, late evening.
Just Victus and Aeon vibing.
Yeah, that's right. You know how we do.
It's a little, yeah.
And I can't help but notice the glaring opposites of our backdrops. I got this great bright set with all these things going on, and then you're solid black.
My black hole. This is my dimensional black hole that I sit in front of every week for the paranormal cuss and discuss.
Because I want people to zoom in to my background and look at all this crazy shit I've got going on. There's like I propped up this prepper magazine hoping that somebody would notice it, because I was like, somebody's gonna see it and be like, yeah, this is my prepper brother. And like, yeah, we're cool, we're planning for the upcoming apocalypse. Yeah, there's so much shit in this office you guys don't even know. But anyway, next week we're gonna cover the back rooms.
Grooms.
Get ready, it's gonna be a wild fucking ride. And thank you to everybody that listened this week. A huge uptick on Spotify. Thank you for everybody listening. Oh my gosh, you guys, we're not getting paid for this, so we appreciate the numbers because it grows exponentially from that point. So the more people that listen, the better. We appreciate it. It lets us know that what we're doing is good, and we do carve out a good chunk of our lives to come and do this. I've been sitting here for 3 hours now tonight, doing social media stuff and then preparing for this evening's podcast. So it makes me know that what we're doing is good, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Do you have anything you want to say before we go?
No, man, I just love sitting here shooting the shit with you.
Oh yeah,
that's all I gotta say. I just love sitting here on a Sunday night shooting the shit with you. That's it.
I've got no friends locally, so this is the only time I get to hang out with anybody other than my wife, which
makes my week.
To be clear, I do enjoy hanging out with my wife. She's kind of great. But
she is great.
She is great. I'm telling you, everybody loves her.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get on out of here. Again, if you guys want to email us, let us know what you think about the show, or if you have an idea for an episode of the podcast. We are at beyondsshadowspodcast@gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out to us. Let us know how good or bad we're doing, or let me know if I'm getting too drunk while we're talking.
And be sure to follow us.
Beyond the Shadows.
Good night.
See you guys later.
It's alive! It's alive!
A creature like that. How would it ever die?
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Look like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Beyond the shadows.